Well, you know what? It's 2 minutes after. I know some people are getting in and they're kind of getting out. I'll go ahead and start, just so we have enough time to do everything. And what I'll do is, for the sake of the recording, people can check this out later on. So, if you don't mind engaging a little bit, Ms. Bettis, I have a few activities. They're pretty easy. I'll go ahead and start right now. So, let me go ahead about introducing myself. Hey, everybody. So, my name is Miguel Torres. I'm a social studies teacher at PSJA Early College High School. I'm going to go ahead, and what I teach also is I teach government, AP economics. I teach this year, I'm teaching AP worlds, and other things I've taught in the past. I've taught US history, I've taught world geo, I've taught human geo, I've taught world history, so regular classes. So that's a little bit about myself. And so I'm going on my 11th year of teaching, and this is the second time. I know this is going to be the second time I'm doing secondary best practices. So this is leveraging technology for social studies is what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, so let me go ahead. Okay, so I introduced myself a little bit about myself right there. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that is my email right there, miguel.torres2 at psjisd.us. So for those of you interested in learning just a couple of simple tools, I'm going to be teaching you a few things how to incorporate in your everyday classroom. So let me go ahead and let's talk about the expectations. I know it's not a large crowd, but be prepared to interact. Another thing you can do, another expectation is be positive, proactive, solution oriented. If you have ideas and suggestions, go ahead and put it on the chat box, and I can take a look at them every once in a while when I'm going through transitions. Another one's just being respectful to all participants. And let's go ahead with an icebreaker real quick. I know there's not a lot of participants at the moment. We'll get some later, but this is just a survey real quick. What you can do is you can use that Google the QR code right there to use the poll, or you can go on slido.com and use that link right there. So I'll give you a minute to see if you can go ahead and go ahead, use your phone, and you can vote on multiple ones. You don't have to just put it on one. So go ahead, you can go on slido.com, or you can go on and then you use the code. On slido.com, you don't need to be a member. You just put the code at the top. So if I can give you, keep active, give me 1 second. So Slido, let me go ahead. Okay, great. So mostly Google Workspace, mostly Blooket. I like Blooket a lot because it's good for assessment. You can use it for informal assessments or formal assessments. It keeps data on your students. So even if you're teaching like an AP class, you can use AP questions, put them in there, and then it'll keep the assessments for you. And Google Workspace, I think mostly everybody uses it that are little tech savvy because essentially what happens is it's just a good way to progress monitoring for the students. That's how we assign our basically our assignments, and we use everything from forms to office. So I use that as well. Now I understand a lot of people have experience using Nearpod and Pear Deck. Unfortunately, our license expired at PSJA for Nearpod, so you can use the free version. It's just going to be very limited. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Padlet in a little bit. It's another tool to get feedback from your students, and it's a way for you to get feedback with being disarming. Students can post things anonymously, but they can post them in different ways. Quizzes I use a lot, especially when I was doing US history. And quizzes is you can do new item types like that they have now for EOC classes. And what you can do is you can use new item types. You can make multiple choice. You can do short answer. So if you're unfamiliar with quizzes, it actually gauges the students in terms of how they're doing with the assessment. What I was doing was star-related questions, exactly questions, and from years in the past, and I was going ahead and trying to get them that repetition. And so I'll teach you a little bit about Today it's going to be mostly Padlet. There's a Nearpod kind of add-on that I can teach you about that's not necessarily in Nearpod. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and start. So these are objectives for today. Just understand how technology can enhance the analysis of primary and secondary sources in social studies. Explore and practice using specific educational technology tools suitable for elementary, middle, and high. That's why I'm not giving necessarily resources. I'm just teaching you how to use the tech. And the other objective is discover and analyze easy-to-use primary and secondary sources. So for today's exercise, we're discussing primary and secondary sources. And this is pretty much 8th grade information. It's going to be dealing with things that they learned before they're supposed to go into world geography. But I'm using primary and secondary sources because for testing for social studies, that tends to be kind of the lowest percentage of students getting those questions correct. And it's because it has to do with a lot of inferencing. And so if you looked at the U.S. history test for 8th grade and for 11th grade, those are the ones I looked at. A lot of primary and secondary sources. Students knew the material. However, when they were looking at them, they didn't know how to infer. The last part is, align activities with TEKS, right? So the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skill Standards. So I'm going to play, it's a really quick 3-minute video. I know as social studies teachers, we pretty much already know what primary and secondary sources are, but our students don't, especially when they go from like 8th grade to 9th grade, or even when they're from 10th to 11th. I'm going to play a video quickly and just see if you can kind of catch along. I'm only going to play 3 minutes of it. And can you all hear the audio actually? Can you all hear that audio that I was playing from that video? They're not able to hear the video. Stop sharing. Okay. Let me stop sharing. And let me go ahead and reshare. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna. Okay, yeah, there we go. My bad. Okay, let me go back to sharing. I just forgot to include audio. And go back to. Okay, sorry about that. I just added. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. Yeah, there we go. And let me go ahead and minimize this. So check this out. It's a 3-minute video. Let me go ahead and do the slideshow. And go ahead.
Hello, class. Today we will be learning about primary and secondary sources. As you know, a source can be a person, place, or object from which you get information. The 2 types of sources used in learning U.S. history are called primary sources and secondary sources. Let's tackle primary sources first. Primary sources are original materials created or produced during the time of study or first-hand information, which makes sense since the word primary means first. General examples of primary sources used for studying U.S. history include letters, diary entries, quotes, government documents, news articles, artifacts, paintings, drawings, and autobiographies. That's when someone writes a book about their own life. More modern primary sources include speeches, video news footage, photographs, and recorded interviews. Let's explore a specific example. If our topic of study was the life of Martin Luther King Jr., we would look at several primary sources. His famous "I Have a Dream" speech is a primary source. It is first-hand information coming directly from Martin Luther King Jr. Whether we read it, hear it, or watch it on a video, that speech is a primary source that tells us about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. also wrote an autobiography about his life. His autobiography is a primary source. Martin Luther King Jr.'s TV interview on Meet the Press in 1965 is a primary source. These primary sources, along with others, help historians to understand the past. The other type of sources, secondary sources, are created by studying primary sources. Let's take a look at secondary sources. Yes, you may have already guessed. Secondary sources are second-hand sources of information. They are sources that were created by someone who did not have first-hand experience or participate in the events, conditions, time periods you are studying. General examples of secondary sources include textbooks, encyclopedias, dictionaries, websites, essays, biographies, which are books about a specific person written by someone else. Let's go back to our Martin Luther King Jr. example. Secondary sources when studying Martin Luther King Jr. would be a section in your textbook, an essay your classmate writes.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you all got the gist of it. I don't want to waste too much time on the video, but let me continue with the slideshow. The reason I had you kind of look at that is for the next activity that we're going to do.
Hello, class. Today we will be learning about...
So the next activity that we're going to be doing is, if you all have used this before, it's called Wordwall, and it's great for social studies in the way that you can have students build their vocabulary. It's also good for chronicling dates, so you can actually add dates like in a timeline. So especially if you're teaching like a tested subject or even a non-tested subject like history or anything like dealing with geography, you can chronicleize the certain periods and certain eras. And Wordwall helps you with this. So if you have your phone, you can go ahead and use that QR code. If you're on your laptop, give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to copy and paste that tiny URL, and I'm going to type it in the group chat so you can go ahead and click it, and I'll show you exactly what it does. So if you want, you can use your phone. And if not, what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm going to put it in our chat. So you can go ahead and click that chat right there, and then we're going to go ahead and look at our activity. So this is the activity. If you're not familiar with Wordwall, they have a couple of different kind of things on the right, like activities that you can use. The first one's called Group Start. So check this out. We just talked about primary and secondary sources. What I want you to do, and take a little bit of time, I'll give you like about a minute and a half. See if you can do, this is what you're going to do. You're going to drag and drop. So autobiography, this is what your kids are going to be learning. That was one of the words that we learned. Autobiography would be a primary source because the person's actually writing it themselves, right? See if you can go ahead. But what you can also do is if you finish this, they have another one called anagram. And so what they're going to do is it's basically like they're trying to figure out what the word would be. So for this one, it would actually be like one of them was a selfie. Selfies identify as a primary source, right? So it won't let you continue until you get it right. So they also have another one called open the box. And so it's going to ask me, what's the textbook, primary or secondary? It would be obviously a secondary one. See, so I want you to see if you can click around. I'm going to give you a minute or so. See if you can use the word wall. And you can either, if you can use Wordwall and use one of these activities, think about what activities you can do and create for your students. Now, the way I found this activity is you can pretty much search. You can search for these activities. So if you don't know what if you don't want to create one yourself, you can put like, the Reconstruction era, and it'll have games on Wordwall that happen to deal with it. And it's free. You don't have to create an account. You can create an account for like $2 is like a slightly higher version. But you can actually play all these games for free. So see if you can mess around. I'll play group sort while you kind of take a look at some of those, just so you can have an idea of what you think. You can put the vocabulary for yourself. You can make these your own, or you can go ahead and try to find them with people. So I'll kind of play along. and I'm pretty sure I got like 2 of them wrong because I'm just trying to do this for speed. So whenever you do something like Wordwall like this, you can submit the answers, and it'll tell you which ones you got correct and which ones you got incorrect. So same thing for anagram. You can't move your progress until you finish the word that they're giving you. Open the box. I kind of showed you that one already. You can also have quizzes. So it's going to ask the same thing. Your parents are explaining how your relatives immigrated to America. Secondary source. All right, so that's it for Wordwall. Now, does anybody have any questions concerning Wordwall or anything like that? Or does anybody have any experience using Wordwall? I use it a lot with my students because it's different besides using Quizlet. They get tired of Quizlet a lot. They get tired of quizzes a lot. So this is another one that I use, Wordwall. So again, it's free, and you can do different things with it. You can just build vocab, and you can incorporate different things like having students listen to a video first, and then kind of using that tool. Okay. So what we're doing, if you missed the beginning of this lesson, what we were doing is we're studying primary and secondary sources, but this is a scaffolding lesson that I'm giving you all. They just learned vocab right now. Now they're going to start learning different things like inferencing. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So this is a pretty simple tool. You all use Google Slides, but I want to show you a way that you can use Google Slides in the way that can be incorporated differently than just having a PowerPoint. You can do things and have students interact with it when you create an activity in your Google Classroom. So whenever you're assigning something, it doesn't need to be a slide. You can get the students to actively respond. So it's free. It's browser-based presentation tool. It auto-saves. It lets multiple people edit it. So if you're doing group work, multiple people can obviously use it together. And you have in real time, you can check the progress of the student. You can share a link with the viewer, a commenter. You can make it an editor as well. Like I'm going to make you all editors basically in a little bit with this next activity. It enables things like typing, comments, and at mentions, at version history. You can see the version history of the students working. That's one of the things now that students aren't using phones, and you get to see them using only pretty much laptop access in your classrooms for PSJA. For today's photo analysis, I set an image in the background and I locked it. And I'll tell you how to do that in a second. I added callouts. You're going to see what a callout is. It's going to be like how you're going to respond. And you can assign this to each group like a different slide. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this URL real quick at the bottom. And if you have your phone, you can go ahead and join with that QR code if you don't want to use your laptop. But if you're using your laptop and want to open up a new tab in a second, or it'll open it up for you, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this link for you all. So we're going to do something different with Google Slides. So you can see it in real time. You can make it like as a do now. You can also make it as an exit ticket. You can even make this an activity, and you can actually make it as long as you want it. So let me go ahead and copy that. So I'm going to go ahead and share this on the link with you all. If you all want to take a look, you all are going to be editors in that right now. And so what I want you to see, let me go ahead and pull it up. You all should be seeing this. It's like you all should be, if you went ahead and clicked on the link, you'll see something like this. Now, what you do is on the background, if you want to make a photo of background, so now what we're doing is we're having students infer. Whenever you want to copy and paste a photo and you don't want the kids to actually move the photo around, what you do is you copy and paste a photo. Like I just looked up a stock photo of Abraham Lincoln, put it here on a blank slide. When you right click the photo, it's not going to have it here. You can detach it from background, but since I already have it attached in the background, it's going to stay in the background, right? So then what you do is you just have just your boxes in terms of, hey, what do you want to ask? You can just put some tech boxes right there. So I put, what do you notice? What can you infer? What questions do you have just from the photo alone? So like if you do it as a do now, before you start teaching about like the Battle of Gettysburg, what you want to do is you want to put it as a background. And I put a lot of I put a couple of different boxes and shapes for the students to give me their responses. All right, so you can make as many as you want. I thought there would be, I put a couple of boxes now. What you can do, you can all help me along and you can participate. You just double click a box once because you all are editors at this point. And what I want to teach you all is how to create these. So when you want to create these boxes, you go to shape, you go to insert, and then you can go to shape. And so these are called call out boxes, right? And so when you click a call out box, you can teach your kids this, or you can make them yourself and predetermined if you know your kids are in groups. You go to insert, you go to shapes, and you go to call outs, and then you just have a box, right? And so it creates a box for you. And you can create the box, you can create it as however big you want it. So what I did was, I know this is a presentation for time's sake, so I created the boxes for you. So if you want, you can scroll back left and right. If you want, maybe you can, just for participation, can I give you guys like a minute and just tell me one thing that you notice or one thing that you infer or one thing that you have a question, just based off of the image. What do you think the kids would ask when they look at this? They can ask, and you should be able to edit it at this moment. And so, yeah, so you can have the students, and this can be, and just like I'm looking at it live, you get to see it on your students' um, uh, assignment. When obviously, as you all know, you can see your students' assignments in real time using Google Docs. So thanks, anonymous. So I noticed he was going to speak to a large group of people, so it must be something important. That's probably something the kids would say before you even teach them what the battle, what happened at the Battle of Gettysburg, and he's talking about the address afterwards. So yeah, that's cool. So let me show you if you're looking at that, and I put slide 2, right? So what you can do is, the reason I have 4 boxes is this is something you can have the kids look at on the second slide. On the second slide, if like, let's just say I deleted this one, and if you want to just make the same box, just press Control C, Control V. So you're just copying and pasting, right? So you can make more and just create. That's what I did with the first box. I just created them for you. So if you want to do that, you can just copy this slide and then you can just paste another slide. See? And so when you go to the next slide and you go to the next slide, they're all the same. They're all uniform. So then you can even make another slide. So you can even put paste again. So if you want to say like group 2, you're going to do a different photo. Group 3, you have a different background photo. Group 4, you have a different background photo. And then you're going to ask what they noticed, they infer, and what questions they have. You can have all the students look at different photos, and that's a good way for them to start having a discussion. Like, because you can mix the photos up, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that's what you thought about that one. I noticed something about this one." So all you're doing is you can just copy and paste essentially just all these different ones, all these different call out boxes. Cool. So let me just go back to the chat real quick, so I know I can't see. Was that anything? Have you all ever used anything like that? Just because you can assign it to students. If you have any experience, you can let me know. But yeah, I think that's really good. As if you have a photo, like if you have a photo from a star question, like and the kids are afraid of getting the question incorrect, you can go ahead and do that, and you can just say, "Hey, what do you notice? Like, what do you think?" And just try to ask something inferring to or a connotation or a cause and effect to that photo. Just go on just go on Google Docs. You right click, you find a photo, you put it on a blank canvas, you right click, and you freeze the background, and it's going to be at the very bottom. And then you can create these boxes. When you go to inserts, you go to shape, you go to callouts. So then you're creating the callout boxes. Cool. Okay, so now if you were here for the first activity, students were learning vocab. You can do this with anything. So they're learning vocab at first. You can do quizzes. I'm sorry, you can use Quizlet if you prefer that. You can do Wordwall. Then now we're doing something else. Now they're inferring. We're getting a step higher in the lesson cycle. So that's great. So yeah, Ms. Castillo, so you like using Google Slides for group work. You get to see it live. You can manage it on screen. Yes. So yeah, you can freeze the screen, just like I said. Just copy and paste it on a blank canvas, on a blank doc, or on a blank slide, and then you just create the background there. And then that's a good way to have them collaborate. So yeah, that's great for group work. And you know what? It's interesting. It's interesting in the way that the students are going to have collaboration. So let's go ahead and I'll continue right now with the slideshow. So, okay, we did vocab. Now they did inferring. So just think about it. How can you use this interactive activity in your content? You kind of, do you all think, I can give you my response. I'll just give you like 30 seconds. Like, how do you think you can use these interactive, this last one and the one before, how do you think you can use this activity in your classroom? And I'm not looking at the comments, but I'll check in a moment. Let me see. Oh, I know what you mean, Ms. Castillo. Yeah, this is a much more simple process now. Now that you know when you go back and you're making your own slides, that's something that you can do. So while you all are kind of writing your responses, one of the things that I do is I would use these images as either I wouldn't use them too much on assignments because they can finish it unless I give them multiple assignments. The other thing that I would do is I would use, like I said, I would use it for STAR. Yeah, vocabulary review is always a good thing, having different options for students to choose. Yeah. So I would, and thanks Fatima for that. I primarily would just use STAR questions as well. And that would be something before you. That's a pre-teach. That's something you just want to know what they're doing. That's what are they thinking before? Like when I was teaching world history, I teach about Genghis Khan, and so I'd show a picture of him riding a horse, and I would have students, they used to throw balls and paper at the front of the screen. Now this is more interactive; it's more digital. Students can learn from each other. So this is Padlet. Unsure of any of you all, you can let me know in the chat box if you have experience with it. I use it also. This could also be, during an assignment. This can be an extended activity. This can be also like a bell ringer. It can also be an exit ticket. So it's a collaborative board where participants can show understanding in all formats that suit them. The students are going to be able to answer in different ways, and I'll go ahead and show you how the tools work. So for this example, we're using the Gettysburg Address. We're going to use columns, walls, using using claim, evidence, and reasoning. We call that CER. So claim, evidence, and reasoning. They can respond in a variety of ways that show their understanding to the content. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to copy and paste this Padlet. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this into the chat. If you are on the chat and you want to go ahead and follow along, if not, you don't have to click it. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and go to the Padlet screen right now then. So I know it's kind of long. I know we have 30 minutes, so I'm trying to go through this. So the last thing that we did was we did inferencing. The first thing we did was building on vocab. So now we're asking them questions, So the way that you respond if you haven't had Padlet is, and I'll show you how you create this question. You use the bottom right arrow and looking at the response and just saying, how can someone in the audience feel hearing the speech? Guys, you all can pick your own template in the background. You can add a photo. And you're going to say why. Answer the question in at least two different ways on Padlet. So, okay, let's answer one of the ways. And if you have time, you can start reading a little bit of that Gettysburg Address, but I'll give you kind of the simple response so we can start the activity. So the Gettysburg Address essentially was after the Battle of Gettysburg, Abraham Lincoln essentially was having a speech outside one of the cemeteries in Gettysburg. And what happened was he was essentially telling the audience, that necessary, things had to be done necessarily to rid evil and to create equality for an equal nation. The other thing that he was talking about in summarizing is he wanted you to know that the death of the soldiers was not in vain, that they were honoring them. So when he goes and gives his speech, those are pretty much the two highlighting things. He goes on and he kind of just says, "Hey, these soldiers, they had an honorable duty. The other part is, we're just trying to create a more equal America." So if you went ahead and you clicked it, I'll go ahead and give you one of my responses. This is one way you can respond. And If you want to look at other ways to respond, just so you can have participation, these are other ways to respond. So you can put, whoops, I'm sorry. So you can draw, you can have a video recorder, they have an audio recorder, you can post a link, you can post, you can have a screen recorder, they can answer with a poll, they can have an AI speech, they can search an image, you can even search a GIF, like if you're just saying like Abraham Lincoln, like Abraham Lincoln sad, right? And they can answer like that way, right? So one of the ways you can do is you can publish something like that, right? So it should come up. There you go. So that's the way you answer. So see if you all can kind of see if you can give me a different way. And if you want to just respond like this, like it seems that honoring the dead is important. And what you do is you publish. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds. If you want to read, yeah, you can go ahead and read. So I'll just give you time. Do you think if anybody can go ahead and add a different way? So again, you just go here and you click the 13 there were different ways to respond, and then you go ahead and you publish. Now, I took off administrative, like an administrative kind of rights. Most of the time when students post, you can leave that on to make sure it's appropriate. You just go to settings and you can fix it. You'll just keep going down through the settings, and towards the bottom, it's going to have do you want managerial permission or not? You can leave it off because I know we're all adults, but that's essentially the way that you can get students to participate. It'll go through you first, so you know that it's nothing like derogatory or anything like that, and then you'll be the one who adds it. They can also draw, like I said. So that's one way to use Padlet. And so the way that you're going to go ahead and you can look at the speech and you're going to wonder like, hey, how can I, write my own question? You can click the top or you can click settings too, where it says the title. And I go ahead and I just ask the questions even on the title. Yeah, so it allows students to answer in different ways because, yeah, a lot of the students do struggle. And sometimes, especially if we have the students in Talk Bus or something of that nature, it's even hard for them to talk. But they'd rather express themselves in drawing. I've seen that a lot. Some kids, now that they're getting more technically savvy, they'll add GIFs and something like to that nature. So, okay, we'll go on. So now we're having students respond in different ways. Previously to that, they were um, inferring, and then previous to that, they were using uh, vocabulary. So let's go ahead and let's go to the next one. Or you can think too, how can you use that interactive activity in your content? You can write something, you don't have to, but how can you use it in your content? Can you make any modifications to it? Right? And you can make modifications to it. It doesn't have to be a long passage like the one I just gave you. You can actually modify the passage if you want to run it through like Copilot, or if you want to run it through like ChatGPT and put this in a ninth grade vocabulary. And I'll show you that later on. It'll spit out a version so it's more user friendly towards their lexile level. All right. I'll take a look at the comments in just a moment. I'll go ahead and look at this activity real quick. This one's pretty easy. So if you all are unfamiliar, now that the students, they want us to be much more digitally literate. They want the students reading and writing, but a lot of the times, one of our principals and my administrator was just saying, hey, next year we want to focus on reading and writing, but then we want them to gather those thoughts and put them on, uh, put them on a digital platform so that they do have those 21st century skills. So this is his address. It's the same one that we just went through. So now that they're going to be using a lot of Microsoft Word, or they're going to be using slides, you can actually check the timestamp to see if the students are copying and pasting. I know the students don't have access to ChatGPT. They're not supposed to have their phone, so they shouldn't have a VPN. So this is how you're going to be able. This is a simple tool, especially when you're for. This is also copying a little bit of English in terms of it's like cross curricular in terms of what they do and what we do. But maybe you use slides all the time, but you just don't do this. And it's a great way for your students to, I say, justify. I always look for evidence and I justify. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link. And let's go back here. This is a link, and it's going to ask you for permission. Go ahead and just accept the permission from that link, and we're all going to be at the same thing together. We're all going to be able to edit the same document together. Yeah, so it's going to ask you for permission. Anybody that has and it's open for everybody who that link is open for. Okay, so I have an anonymous hedgehog. All right. If you have time, go ahead and click the link. So this is something, if I want to ask the question, and I think I just, I have it over here. What I want to ask is, let's go ahead and, you want to ask a question like, what I do is I ask students for evidence and I ask them to justify. And I'll ask them a question like, let's just say on their prompt, like, what is the main point or what is the main focus or what is the most important part of the Gettysburg Address? Go on. So I'll try the first one. You guys can absolutely just click anything. I just want you to use the tool and be familiar with it. So if I say we're here to help, I'm going to say we met on the battlefield on that war. We've come to dedicate a portion of that field as a last resting place for those who gave their lives for the nation might live. So I'm going to go ahead. And so what we do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to highlight. And what I want you to do, it's simple. It's as simple as this. You just tell the students to highlight something, right? Give them anything. Give them a short. Give them something short, because you don't want them to. You don't want to have like their fatigue. Every time you have something and you highlight something, there's always add a comment right here. So I want the students to know, and I know you all use Google Slides and you know how to highlight, but a lot of people don't know about that comment box. And so now that we're going fully like much more digital than we have, tell the students to justify. So evidence and justification, right? So the evidence is soldiers passed away for a great cause. And then I can justify it by saying for their sacrifice, our nation has created equality, right? So then you can comment. So when you're doing this with your students, you don't want them to highlight anything, right? Because if you give something to a student and you just go, hey, just highlight the most important parts, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the thumbnail of their work. They only looked at the document for 15 seconds, they highlighted anything, and then they just put submit, right? So what you want is use the comment box after you highlight something, and they can always edit it, and you can always comment on their links as well. Like as for your feedback, you can say, hey, that's nice. So just see if you can just practice it. Even if you don't think, like, you can just skim through it. You can just practice, try to highlight something, and just go ahead and see if you can use the comment box. So the comment box always happens. It's always here when you're highlighting something. You can highlight it first using the highlight coloring highlight right there. And then once you highlight it, you can add a comment. I'll see if you all can answer. I'll give you a couple of seconds. See if you all can just highlight and use the comment box for yourselves. It doesn't even have to make sense. I'm going to go back and look at the comments for a second. Oh, I'm just saying, just highlight, what's the most significant part of this? What's the most significant part of his speech? It doesn't really have to make sense. Really, I'm just here to to make sure that you all know how to use the commenting tool. Just highlight something that you think is most important. And if you need a look at it again, you can just highlight whatever you had again, and then the box will be on the top right corner again for you to give your explanation. Yeah, anything that stands out, Ms. Castillo. And you don't even necessarily have to make it make sense. You could just say, "I felt he was emotional probably when writing this part." Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so just like he said, yeah, the whole point of this was gathering addresses is for those living to continue the dead, see what they were able to finish. I think it's part of his audience. I would love hearing it at the same time. Yeah, you can ask the students for everything. Sorry, I didn't have the question posed. It was just me asking you. But I think, do you all think? I'll go ahead and we can continue. I think we only have 5 minutes until we have questions. And then if we don't have questions, I can go back and even give you more information. So that's great. You all are doing good. So that's something I think you should teach your students, um, so that you can see like when you're teaching them, you can see justification that they don't just get the point; they have a reason to. So these are other things too that I was using. These are other textual analysis guiding questions. You can highlight and cite something that stood out to you and explain why. Like I should have used this before I gave you the assignment. Hey, what do you think the main idea is? What metaphors and symbols do you think Lincoln uses? And can you identify examples of persuasive language? Right? What are references to historical documents or events? Which ones are present? So you can create things. If you don't know like what to create, if I get to it in a moment, you can just kind of look on Copilot or ChatGPT and just say, what are guiding questions I can ask, or what are sentence stems that I can include with the students if they don't know how to answer the question? So I think that's a good thing to use. You get the guiding questions, you let them see it before they see like the Gettysburg Address or anything like that. So do you all think that's something, this interactive activity is something you can use? Like it doesn't have to be like a daily thing. It's just uh, kind of changing the topic to see where the students are at. I think you can use this to gauge, like you have your students reading, you have them writing, and then you have them justifying. Do you all have like any? What do you think you can do? Anything else? You can also. Do you think you can? How do you think you can use this interactive activity with your content? Yeah, comments to provide feedbacks for students. Yeah, now that you can use it for comments, now you can have your students do that too, Ms. Bettis. You can have your students justify why, and then you can give them like a follow up comment going like, "Yeah, like I see where you're going, but maybe you didn't catch it." So when the student gets their feedback, they can kind of look at it as well. Have the students to justify it themselves. I think that's well. All right. I think I can get down to my last activity. And in the next couple of minutes, I'll probably go over like by 2 minutes for questions. So I'll probably run out. So let me go back here. And so, yeah, it's something quick and short. Yeah, Ms. Castillo, the kids are given time to reflect on something. So, and you can actually have them share with each other, or you can have multiple students like the way we did it. You can have them share with the same document. So I think that's really good. So let's continue the slideshow real quick. This is pretty much the last activity that I have. So there's a postcard activity you can do. Well, it doesn't have to be, I know everything's, so what they did last is now they're highlighting and they're identifying and they're justifying. Now this is the last part of, you can tell the scaffolding of the lesson has been going up. Now this is something they're creating. Being quick about it, they're going to have a postcard that's on slides. You can do you can do the same thing that I did. You can get a postcard. You can create it in the back as a in the background of a document, and then you can create the boxes right here. You're going to create the boxes for the correspondence. So one person, like the prompt on the top is, as a Union soldier, you just got and you heard the Lincoln delivery at Gettysburg Address. What could you write in this postcard to your family about the speech? How did it make you feel about what about the cause of your fighting and for your sacrifices already made? The other one is, let's have students divided in half. So you all don't have to have the students do the same thing. You can have half the class do something or half the group do one thing, whether it's are you for or against? What do you think an abolitionist would say? What do you think a federalist and an anti-federalist would say? So I'm going to go ahead and click the card again. It's going to ask you to make you a copy, but I'm just going to do it myself. Give me 1 second. And so, give me 1 second. And then what we have here is, you can go ahead. It's going to ask you if you want to accept it. You don't have to. Just take a look at what I'm doing now because I just noticed I'm running out of time. So when I go ahead and click it, this is something you all can do with your kids. And so you do the same background. You find something that's like stock that you can put back there. You put it on a blank document, and then you just create the typing boxes. So dear, and then you can just put something like dear mom. And then let's just say we're a Union soldier. You can just say, we won the war. However, we lost good men in combat. And then you can go ahead. You can do this with anything, guys. You don't have to make it a postcard, but if you're doing something in the historical setting and you want the kids to kind of use all of the concept that they've gone throughout the lesson cycle, they can just put a person's name, their address, and you can say talk soon. It's basically what they're doing is they're putting themselves in perspective because new teaks, like new testing types, for EOC or EOCs basically now they have to understand perspectives in terms of primary and secondary sources. So when our students are writing those free response questions, they don't necessarily know sometimes what they're reading because they were never taught to take a perspective. All right. So I know I'm going to give you a lot of time to do that because I know I just ran out of time. So let me go ahead and then I'm just going to go ahead and just use 1 more minute. You're going to have a copy of the presentation, so don't worry. What you can do is you can give them sentence stems, like if they don't know how to write, like dear mom, and then they're going to say like, I don't know what to say. Give them something to start writing with so they can open up like I'm writing here from Gettysburg. So what you do is you create sentence stems or ask ChatGPT or Copilot to create sentence stems for you, and so basically those are things that you can actually do and ask the students. So I know there's a reflection. I'll ask for that in I'll ask for that right now for the questions. Let me go ahead and give you today's presentation. You're going to have a copy of it. You can edit it any way you want. You can use the same style. You can put your own spin on it with your own activities. And that's for today's presentation. And let me go ahead. And this is for the survey. Now, you're going to have a little bit more information. There's a couple of slides I didn't get to. And that is for, you're welcome. That is for the survey. The other part too, if you're still looking, I use ChatGPT a lot. What I'm trying to do is you put something like create a summary of the story of Ruby Bridges that is suitable for third grade students and create 10 discussion questions. You put something like that, you copy the summary for the students. It's easy for them to read. They got it from the story of Ruby Bridges. It's third grade, and then you ask discussion questions, and then you can go ahead and use things like sentence stems for the students to be actively participating. Okay. Stop sharing. I appreciate your time. Thank you all for coming here. So there's the information. So again, my information is on the first slide. If you have any questions, like if I went too fast, what I can do is if you reach out to me and you need some information, like, hey, how did you create this for this slide? Like I didn't go into uh, Wordwall and I didn't teach you how to do all that stuff. Those are things you can go in and kind of learn yourself. But if you have any questions over what I created, go ahead and let me know. Thank you. So let me put my email here anyways, on the bottom. Hold on. That's my email. It's also on the first slide. Now, do you all have any questions that you want to ask? I know we got another 6 minutes or so. Or I think actually I have like 10 minutes, so. Okay. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Castillo, for participating and helping out. Yes, and remember, guys, watch out for the raffle that's going on. I think they'll alert you. I think Mr. Villarreal probably has more information on that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure since you all been going to every session, they are having a raffle, so just look out for that. Thank you so much, Mr. Castillo. Yeah, that would be awesome. Which one, Miss Yanez, was the tiny URL not working? Was it the first one or the second one? For the presentation or for the session?
The one for the presentation, because I clicked on one and it sends me to a session. So which one's the one that works for the tiny URL that you were going to share with us that we could modify?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's on there. Let me just copy and paste it again. Let me see.
Oh, okay, thank you. Because the
You're
one
welcome.
that sent, it takes us to like something else. It's not that.
Let me see.
Okay.
Let's see. For me, it's working. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Maybe it's just me on my end, but like I click on it and it just sends me to the evaluation, sir.
Okay, that was the evaluation, and then this one is for the slides, the very last one.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Let me know, Ms. Jonas, if you can click on it though, and then if it's working for you. If not, I'll email it to you.
No, I got it. I already made a copy. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody have any questions or anything that they wanted to type? You all have if you want to write your email down, or if you want I give you my email. If you have any questions and you're like, hey, I went through the presentation, I just forgot a couple of things. Like I know the presentation is going to be available, Mr. Villarreal, and Instructional Technology, they're gonna put it up. But if you have any questions directly, if you want me to go even in more depth of anything I spoke about, just like I said, I typed my email. It's on the very first slide of the presentation. So let me know. I'm here to help out. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll take any question if you all have. If not, it's been a pleasure with you all. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Yanis. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for having thanks Fatima for coming over. Appreciate your time. All right.